the center of all love I stand, and from that center I, the soul, will outward move. From that center I, the one who serves, will work. May the love of the divine self be shed abroad in my heart, through my group and throughout the world. May the love of the divine self be shed abroad in my heart, through my group and
Good evening, everyone. This is Michael, and I'm substituting for Tuya this evening. We have quite a full evening, in terms of our hours here in Finland. I know it's different in different places. Those who are members of the Esoteric United Nations, just about a half hour after we finish this meditation, we're going to have an Esoteric United Nations meditation, maybe a little shorter tonight, and we'll see whether we do something in another 5 days or so, just as the sun is preparing or having its ingress into the sign Aries. It means that when you have an ingress, the different planets or the sun change their sign. And then at 10 p.m. GMT, 12 midnight here in Finland, I'm offering the Pisces solar fire ritual meditation, which is, meditation with music and oratory and the whole story of the soul in Pisces. And that I put the link, so you should be able to see that. Those other two programs are Zoom. The EUN is Zoom, and the Pisces Solar Fire Ritual Oratorio meditation is also Zoom. So maybe some of you will be able to attend that. I know it means very late hours here in Europe, because it's a substantial meditation to follow the history of the soul when it incarnates at different stages of evolution in Pisces. Now, I'd like to read just a little bit here from Master Decay, and it's all about, you know, the work of the ninth seed group particularly, but it's also the responsibility of every disciple to find a way to put into the work either sufficient resources of a material kind or of a temporal kind. You know, the old saying that time is money is in a way true, and if we can set aside quite a bit of our time to advance the esoteric teaching, you know, that's equivalent in many ways to actually putting the financial resources into that particular labor. It says the task to be undertaken by this group, I assume that's the financiers, you know, group number 9, is to study the significance of money as directed and appropriated energy. Directed and appropriated. It's sent in the right direction, and then it is taken up by those who can constructively work for the manifestation of the divine plan. This direction of force produces concretization. This is why Saturn and Uranus are both, with their strong hardline energies, involved in the whole financial work. This direction of force produces concretization, and the work is then in the field of magical endeavor. So the 10th seed group as well is involved. As with the work of the other groups, the task to be carried out falls into 3 categories of endeavor. So, yeah. Number 1, the effort to understand the nature of prana, or of vital etheric energy. So right away we see that the planet Uranus, especially as the ruler of Aquarius, is involved with prana, which is such a 7th ray demonstration. So the effort to understand the nature of prana, or of vital etheric energy, and the 3 qualities which distinguish it. These are, as you well know, inertia, activity, and rhythm, you know, in the order of their progressive development, and giving them their Hindu names. Tamas, that's inertia, Rajas is activity, and Sattva is rhythm. And therein comes Saturn and Libra and the balanced approach. When the mineral wealth of the world was undiscovered and unused quite a while ago, since even 2,000, 3,000 years ago we did have mineral money, we had the stage of tamas in its deepest and most inert point. Much concerning money today is related to the karma and the destiny of the mineral kingdom. Whatever that might be, you know, that is a fascinating but subhuman subject, so it will take some specialization to understand the perspective from which he speaks. With this, however, good thing, we need not here concern ourselves. The processes of the pranic life were originally carried out in the realm of barter and exchange, of that which is found upon the surface of the earth, you know, not having to dig for the mineral wealth, you see, and later went down into the depths. It's a very volcanic and plutonic effort, thus bringing into fluidity the deepest and densest expression from the human standpoint, because there's probably something I think that is denser still, deepest expression of divinity. This is a point to be remembered. Today, the process is being reversed, and money is connected, and this was 80 years ago, with the produce of the vegetable kingdom in the form of paper money, which, gosh, almost seems obsolete at this time. There are all these debates about whether excuse me, cash per se should be eliminated and an entirely electronic form of money be substituted. So anyway, a paper form of money founded upon the mineral wealth of the world. That is, when there's something to back it up. Now, just lately, there's been the printing of money, which has no substantial anchor in gold or some other precious metal. It's just printed. So this is an interesting subjective reality to have in mind. Okay. Number 2, a study of the processes whereby money has been steadily deflected from personal uses, both in the good and in the evil sense. So you can ponder, the money that is at your disposal. How much is it related to your personal desires? Whether they are tending towards the good, or whether in fact they are obstructive and evil and reactionary. It's something really to think about, because he divides so many things in terms of the pairs of opposites, the higher and the lower. And obviously we want to begin working under the impress of the higher power and of the higher of the pairs of opposites. I do not, however, he says, intend to write a treatise upon finance. It would largely be a record of man's dire selfishness, but I seek to deal with money as the hierarchy sees the problem. And always we're trying to adjust our point of view to his point of view, so we can become an outpost of his consciousness. I mean, how does hierarchy see these things? Much more in the light of truth and much closer to the all-seeing eye, which is on the pyramid on the American $1 bill. So I seek to deal with money as the hierarchy sees the problem, and to consider it as a form of energy. It motivates people to spend their energy to acquire it, prostituted at this time to material ends, a low use, right? Or to the selfish aspirations and ambitions, and I might say even, of well-meaning servers. Selfishness is hard to root out. If we have taken the second initiation, some significant degree of selfishness has been rooted out, but by no means all. They are limited in their view and need to get a picture of the possibilities inherent in the present situation, which could deflect much of this form of concretized divine energy into constructive channels. and ways of light. So again, we have to change our consciousness with respect to what money is, how it is spent, how it is distributed according to need, according to the principle of fairness. What is it that need, love, and magnetism are the three factors needed to attract money, to attract the sufficient financial resources. Okay, and then comes number 3, a study of the law of supply and demand. It's very Jupiterian, you know, when the I'm sorry, when the supply runs low and the demand is legitimate, you know, use, demand, take, those are the 3, UDT, use, demand, take. When the demand is righteous and sufficient, Jupiter comes in to resupply. Also, I suppose you might say when there is excess, and money is spent in a way that is needless and luxurious and so forth, Saturn comes in to correct that. A study of the law of supply and demand so that there can be made available for the Master's work through the medium of the world disciples of pure motive and skill in action and tried responsibility, tested responsibility, motive, skill, and tested responsibility, that which is needed, and my brothers, sorely needed by them. How frustrating it must be that they contain within their consciousness and their abilities the capacity to really help solve human problems, and yet they are limited by karma. They have to be invoked or evoked, and so much of that evocation has to do with the money, the symbol of flowing golden energy that can materialize and concretize. They have to be evoked by the invocation, and so much of it is the willingness to spend money in the right ways. Money has been deflected into entirely material ends, even in its philanthropic objectives. So that's an indictment, isn't it? That even when you mean well and, you know, you have people who are benefactors, they tend to give for the more material needs, which of course have to be met, but not perhaps for the deeper spiritual needs. The most spiritual use now to be found in the world is the application of money to the purposes of education. Think of that. There are some, you know, colleges, I'm thinking back, you know, when I went to college in 50-something years ago, and 60 years ago, and the cost of some of the large universities can put the students in debt for years and years of their post-graduating life. And so, you know, families sacrifice everything in order to see that their children are rightly educated. There's a lot of ambition and competition there. Who will get to go to the most prestigious and exorbitantly expensive schools? But now with the internet, much of that is going to be changed, I suspect. So anyway, the most spiritual in relation to the purposes of education. When it is turned away from the construction of the form side and the bringing about solely of material well-being of humanity, and deflected from its present channels into truly spiritual foundations, much good will then be done. The philanthropic ends and the educational objectives will not suffer, and a step forward will be made. But of course, this has to do, doesn't it, with our sense of values. What do we really and truly value? And you can always tell where a person stands relatively by exploring the sense of values of that individual. The time is not yet, but the spiritualizing of money and its massing in quantities for the work of the great ones, the disciples of the Christ, is part of a much needed world of service, and can now make a satisfactory beginning. But it must be carried forward with spiritual insight, a right technique, and true understanding. Another triplicity here. Purity of motive and selflessness are taken for granted. Right, well that's all, and it's enough. Excuse me. That's all I'm going to read for right now, but it takes us to the next section, doesn't it? I realize we're being a little bit scattershot about how we're doing this, but almost any page you pick up will have what is what is needed, and will be a real stimulus to thought. So now, let's get into our meditation. For some of you, it is Sunday morning, as he recommends, and for others, whatever time it is, it doesn't make any difference, as long as we, in a weekly manner, consider these important thoughts and act upon them. So we begin with the principle, or part of a principle: to those who give shall be given, so that they can give again. And actually, in Letters on Occult Meditation, it is stated, to those who give all is given. So the source of supply has to do with creating a vacuum into which the flowing golden substance can flow and be offered to the Christ, his masters, his disciples, and those who represent every good thing that can come out of the 7 ashrams. But then, consciously we have to save, so we have enough to reasonably offer the most important thing that's happening on our planet, the reappearance of the Christ and the externalization and the creation of the new group of world servers. So we're going to have that personality quietness and a formulation clearly to ourselves and voiced in our own words as we answer these questions which come up for us every week, and we can learn more and more from them. If money is one of the most important things needed today for spiritual work, what is the factor which is at present deflecting it away from the work of the hierarchy? What is that factor? I think we can offer many specifics here, but basically, if you look at the great invocation, they all are derivative of the idea that there is insufficient light in the consciousness, insufficient love in the consciousness, and an insufficient willingness to do what is really required to accumulate the needed resources. Then, point 2, what is my personal attitude? Each one of us asks, what is my personal attitude towards money? Am I, or do I, regard it as a great and spiritual asset, or do I think of it in material terms? Or some mixture of the two? And point 3, what is my personal responsibility in regard to money which passes through my hands, both literally and figuratively? We may never really touch the money over which we have control in the way that money is represented in the world today. But these are the old terms. Am I handling it as a disciple of the Master should handle it? Now, mythology tells us of the Hydra. Millions of years ago, Hercules, a great teacher, dramatist, initiate of earlier Atlantean times, symbolically portrayed the grasp which many glamours have over humanity, including this huge glamour regarding money which hovers over the human race. Who's not implicated? Maybe there are some people that are tremendously off the grid and extremely self-sufficient, but still there's some things that just cannot be accessed without moving the symbol for the flowing golden prana, money, as that symbol. So the second head of the Hydra is about the wrong use of money. So as we study ourselves, does this head, this gigantic head, have any power over us? With all its weaknesses, you know, and all its perversion of the spiritual values, how do we overcome its power? How does any one of us attempt to overcome its power? So we stand in the light of the soul, and we lift the Hydra along with his second head into the realm of intuition, and we really begin to see things, how they really are. And under that kind of gaze about the way, you know, I'll change Emerson's quote a little bit. Money is in the saddle and rides mankind. The original things are in the saddle, but when we really begin to see how it is, we can begin to disentangle ourselves from all of those coiling glamours, and the power will be weakened. I had a relative who had passed through many challenging and dangerous circumstances, and she would always say to me, "It's only money, Michael. It's only money." Because the perspective had changed due to the dire circumstances and the different perspective. And maybe when we study our country, we'll see that the attitude towards money is a very important aspect of whether there's a clean government or whether there's a lot of corruption. So we need to weaken the effect of this Hydra head over us. Now, we ponder on the redemption of humanity through the right use of money. An era of sharing must begin in our communities, in our families, internationally. Otherwise, the Christ does not dare to reappear. And so we think of it as, realistically, as at present largely used for purely material purposes and for the satisfaction, where the individual is concerned, of purely personal desires. There are some people that really use money in a disinterested and impersonal way, and others who are grasping for many unfulfilled personal desires. It is a great distinction and a great initial test of the spirituality of any applicant. However, we can also visualize money as a great stream of flowing golden substance passing out of the control of the forces of materialism into the control of the forces of light. And often, ever so quietly, the many, many little groups are at work, advancing beneath all of the decaying attitudes of the old age, advancing the new structures, which will restore what has been called the divine circulatory flow. And then we will say the following invocative prayer with focused mental concentration and from a heartfelt desire to meet spiritual demands. O thou, in whom we live and move and have our being. The power that can make all things new. Turn to spiritual purposes. The money in the world. Touch the hearts of men everywhere so that they can give to the work of the hierarchy that which has hitherto been given to material satisfaction. The new group of world servers needs money in large quantities. I ask that the needed vast sums may be made available. May this potent energy of thine be in the hands of the forces of light. And we can be assured that there is such goodness in humanity. Also, that one day this potent energy of thine will be in the hands of the forces of light. And then we visualize the work to be done by those groups which claim our present allegiance. And that is any group which you know is attempting to carry out the hierarchical plan. And through the creative imagination and by an act of the will, see untold and unlimited sums of money pouring into the hands of those who seek to do the Master's work. And then we say aloud and with conviction and with emphasis, He for whom the whole world waits has said, that whatsoever shall be asked in his name, and with faith in the response, we'll see it accomplished. And we are to remember at the same time that faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Substance and evidence. It's there. And faith connects us to it. So now we make our individual request and we ask specifically in the name of Christ and with faith in the response. Now we say, I ask the needed money for, and we fill in what we want to put there. And I can demand it. Remember, use, demand, take. And I can demand it because from the center, which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. We visualize that we are gathered at the feet of the Avatar of Love. That every human being as a soul is worthy of that love, whatever obstruction the personality may throw in the way. Everyone is under the influence and inspiration of the Christ, worthy as a soul of that love. And we say, we have gathered in your name, Lord Maitreya, be with us. prepare now to offer what we have saved or designated to the Christ during the previous week. And we think about what we are offering, how we're offering it, how it will help advance our little share in the divine plan. We do plan our financial cooperation with Hierarchy, and the Tibetan tells us, be practical and realistic, and know that if you do not give, you may not ask, for you have no right to evoke that which you do not share. And so we plan. We attempt to feel true love sweeping through us, and to express that love to all whom we may contact. Somehow every soul is worthy of the gift of love. Not the personality necessarily, that's a different thing, a mask. But love is the great attractive and selfless agent in world affairs. So keep a careful record. Keep in mind the groups you wish to support, and rhythmically then give the needed money or often the equivalent of that, the needed time, to our chosen group or organizations who work for the Christ. And so we sound the Om 3 times, precipitating love into the worlds of the threefold personality and the threefold personality of our nation and the threefold personality of humanity. Om. Okay, friends, in short time, those of you who may want to join the Esoteric United Nations, you can come along. After a short time, we require a commitment to stay with it until the next festival week of the new group of world servers. And then we'll have the redemptive Pisces oratorio at 10 p.m. GMT. As we are emerging from the new moon. Actually, we're still in this very enterprising new moon period. So the sun is in Pisces, but the moon has moved forward into Aries. So thank you for being here tonight, and more lies ahead. We'll close with great invocation number 1, calling for light and goodwill, the two factors of major import in the triangles work, calling for light and goodwill. And when those exist, the divine circulatory flow will be restored, the money will flow into the creative projects which the ashram and the 7 major ashrams seek to accomplish as part of the divine plan. So love and many blessings from Tuya, myself, and from all the communications group. And we'll continue to work together, knowing our esoteric work is indeed accomplishing some measure of good. And it will get better and better.